Hey Wildcats, it's Miss Whitby. I've got my flower. I'm ready to start doing this dissection for you, so that's pretty exciting. First, we need to talk about some of these parts of the flower. I kind of made these cards in an attempt to help there. So first, we're going to talk about the one that everybody probably already knows. We've got the petal. Okay, so the petal of the flower is the colorful part. That's the part that attracts bees and other pollinators to help move around that pollen. Another part that we need to talk about now is the pistil. The pistil is the female part of the flower. You can see the top of it up here. It's this part in the middle. And it goes all the way down into the flower where there is an ovary, which holds all of the eggs, which we're going to talk about those more once I cut this open. Then there's the male parts of the flower. Now, the male parts of the flower are called the stamen. Okay, and that's going to be this piece right here. It's going to be the part that houses all the pollen, okay, which is also known as the sperm in this case. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start taking this apart. So I'm going to start with the petals, just because it's easiest to get all of those out of the way first. I'm going to go ahead and take those all off. And if you're doing this at home, this would be a good time to do that as well. Go ahead and take that all off. And now that all I'm left with is the inside parts of the flower, so I'm only left with the pistil and the stamen. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the stamens off and kind of set those aside because those are that male part of the flower and I'm not really doing anything with that yet. I want to focus on just the female part to start. Alright, so now we are left with just the pistil. Now, on the pistil, you can actually crack the bottom of it open. Alright, slowly getting there, you guys. Sorry, it's hard to do without the proper tools. So, inside this pistil, there are going to be some eggs. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see them very well because of the way my camera is, but I'll go ahead and try to pull some out for you. Alright, so we have some eggs there, which are again are stored in the pistil, which is that female part of the flower. So if you can see those, great. I definitely recommend doing this. Oh, now they're all over my hands. I definitely recommend doing this with your own flower, either while I'm doing it or after I'm done doing it. You know what I mean? That way you can kind of see it for yourself because it's hard to see on my webcam what I'm seeing. Now, if you want to take a closer look at the stamen, now the stamen has some pollen on it. Now, usually you can just run your finger along and get some of that pollen, which I'm already kind of doing. It's kind of on my hands. You can also pop this thing called the anther open, which is at the end of the stamen. And then you should be able to see some pollen on the inside there, which I know you probably can't see from my camera, but when you do it at home, you will be able to see all of those things. Now, this is important, and the reason that we're talking about this is because we're focusing on pollination in science, which you guys already know because you've kind of been doing your science work as we go along. Pollination is important because pollination, guys, is how the pollen gets brought to the flower by something else. Now, sometimes it's wind, sometimes it's an animal, sometimes it's a human. Pollen is carried so easily throughout our planet that there's so many different pollinators, it's so easy to do. So, pollination is important, and that's why we talked about the bees in that assignment that you guys were doing for science. We talked about bees being important because without bees, they're one of our biggest pollinators. So even though it's easy, as I was saying, to move the pollen around, we still need our bees to help with that. You know what I mean? So very important. Now, those parts that I was talking about before, aside from just there was the pollen and then there was the egg, those things are very important for something we call fertilization. Now, fertilization is when the pollen enters the pistil and it goes down the pistil and it starts to interact with the eggs, right? And when it does that, it creates a seed, which is what's really cool about this because after the seed is created, the seed is then carried by probably a pollinator or some other animal to another part of the earth, and then it germinates, it ends up in the soil, and then you have these brand new flowers sprouting up everywhere, which is really cool. So very cool, very awesome. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that we're going to do more experiments in the future. This one's not so much an experiment, it's more of just an investigation, but we're definitely going to do more of these, so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to try to do one a week, but very cool. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great Friday.